Yo, what's going on? Welcome into the show. My name is Chase Senior. You're watching Philadelphia Eagles now, and no matter where you are, how you're tuned in, I appreciate all of the real ones for making today's show a part of your day. And coming up, it's that time, my final Philadelphia Eagles 53-man roster projection. All 32 teams across the NFL by Tuesday have to hand in their official 53-man rosters by 4 p.m. Eastern, which is why we're doing this show right now. Before we dive in, it is going to be an elite breakdown. Let me ask you a question. Do you want elite Philadelphia Eagles coverage? If that is the case, hit that subscribe button, lock us in, and join the movement. Anytime I'm in front of a camera, on a microphone talking Eagles, I want our coverage and our content to be insightful, informative, thought-provoking, entertaining, and I want you to have a voice. So if all that sounds good, of course, go Birds and hit that subscribe button. And I want to begin here. This Philadelphia Eagles roster going into 2025, coming off that Super Bowl championship, a little bit more in flux than at this point last year when Philadelphia was pretty much locked and loaded and we knew who all 22 starters were going to be, 11 on offense and 11 on defense. And so with that being said, I think that Howie Roseman and this Eagles front office, this scouting department, this coaching staff as well, is going to be closely monitoring the waiver wire to see which other players get cut by other teams by that Tuesday deadline. And these positions really come to mind for me. Wide receiver, safety, cornerback, offensive line, and edge rusher. And some of you might have that question, well, Chase, 53-man roster projection, that means that's the official roster for week 1 against the Dallas Cowboys on Thursday, September 4th. Doesn't mean that it's official. The Eagles could have their initial 53 and then make changes based upon what other players are available. Let's start off at the quarterback position. Jalen Hurts and Tanner McKee are locks to make this team. But one of the recent developments for that QB3 battle is that Kyle McCord is ahead in the pecking order over Dorian Thompson-Robinson. But we see teams exercise this optionality a lot, where they go with 2 quarterbacks on the initial 53, and then they add a quarterback to the practice squad who can be the emergency quarterback on game day. I do think that Kyle McCord makes this team. I thought he made some strides throughout the preseason, and so I'm going to go with him making this team, but it wouldn't surprise me if the Eagles only go with 2 QBs on the initial 53. Then they hope that Kyle McCord can pass through waivers, and then they bring him back to the practice squad. We shift gears to the running back spot. Again, Saquon Barkley, Will Shipley, locks to make this team. The Eagles could go about this in a very fascinating way where they elect to cut A.J. Dillon, but because he's a veteran, he doesn't have to pass through waivers. And so they could sign him to the practice squad and then elevate him to the active roster on game day. But I think A.J. Dillon has showed enough throughout the preseason and in training camp to put his official stamp on this 53 and actually make the team. I love the difference in styles in this running back room. Of course, Saquon is one of one, but I think that Will Shipley is a very underrated player. And then A.J. Dillon is the thumper. Looks to be healthy after not playing last year due to that neck surgery that he got. And I like the dimension and the physicality that he can bring in goal line situations, short yardage situations, and then running the ball even between the 20s outside of the red zone as well. And then I do think that Ben VanSumeren, as a fullback and special teamer, will make this club. The Eagles could also elect to cut him and bring him back to the practice squad because I'm not sure a lot of teams would actually claim him or want to bring him in. But I do think the Eagles put value on the fullback position. Jeffrey Lurie said this offseason he believes that Philadelphia can resurrect that spot. And I believe him when he says that. And I think that VanSumeren, with this running attack, can play an important and key role. Wide receivers, with the season-ending injury to Johnny Wilson. He got carted off the practice field on Tuesday, and he has to undergo knee and ankle surgery. It really clears up a big question that we had just a few days ago. Which receivers were going to make this ball club, and how many were the Eagles going to have on the 53? Well, with Johnny Wilson out for the year, it's a shame for him. The big-bodied wide receiver showed a lot of strides and improvement going into year 2. I think these 6 wideouts are going to make the squad. A.J. Brown, DeVonta Smith, Jahan Dotson, You traded for John Metchie last Sunday. He's making the team. Ainias Smith had a really good preseason. He's made a lot of strides in his development as a wide receiver. And Darius Cooper has to make this team. There is no way, in my opinion, that he will pass through waivers. I think he's too good of a player. The Eagles have been giving him first-team snaps. And not only is he getting first-team snaps, he's making plays with the first-string offense and contributing on special teams. Wouldn't surprise me if by season's end, he actually has a role as a pass catcher on Kevin Patullo's offense. Tight ends. This is a very fascinating position as well. Last year, going into 2024, the Eagles went with 2 tight ends on the initial 53. Dallas Goedert, Grant Calcaterra, and then E.J. Jenkins, who had a great camp in preseason, came back on the practice squad. But E.J. Jenkins has been ahead of Kylen Granson. That tells me the Eagles like him as tight end 3. And because you lose the blocking ability of Johnny Wilson, if you want to go heavy, if you want another big body in there to get girthy in the trenches, short yardage situations, I think you want E.J. Jenkins on this ball club. Offensive line. The roster crunch here is going to be tight. These are the 10 offensive linemen that I'm rocking with. Your starters from left tackle to right tackle: Jordan Mailata, Landon Dickerson, Cam Jurgens, Tyler Steen, Lane Johnson. Best offensive line in football. Which depth pieces do the Eagles hold on to here? Kendall Lamm can play tackle and guard. So too can Matt Pryor. I think the Eagles really like the positional versatility for those players, and they're both vets. Darian Kinnard's been with this team, and isn't this crazy? He's been in the league 3 years. He's won a Super Bowl every year. 2 with Kansas City, 1 with Philadelphia. Then 2 of the 6th-round picks in Myles Hinton and Drew Kendall make this team. Drew Kendall is the backup center. The Eagles like the upside of Myles Hinton, although I think that he's left some meat on the bone throughout the preseason, which then brings me to this. The offensive lineman cut Brett Tauth, who stepped in for Landon Dickerson after Dickerson got hurt. I don't think he makes the team. I think he can come back to the practice squad, though. This is a risk. I like the player, but Cameron Williams also gets cut in my eyes, and hopefully the Eagles can bring him back to the practice squad. I thought if he returned to Texas for 2025 and was blocking for Arch Manning with all of the eyes that are going to be on that program, and he played well, and he was able to clean up some of the penalties and some of the holds, he could have been a first-round pick. He has that type of talent, but the learning curve for him throughout training camp and in the preseason, it's been a little bit slow. But if you get him in this Jeff Stoutland School of Development, Cameron Williams can be a guy. Eagles drafted Trevor Keegan out of the 5th round last year. Maybe he's a practice squad dude. You got back Kenyon Green in the C.J. Gardner-Johnson trade. He's not good enough to make this team. I have him getting cut. Same with Laken Vakalahi and Holland Pierce. For Vakalahi, he can come back to the Eagles roster and not count toward the 53 as part of the International Pathway Program. And I'm also high on Holland Pierce. So some of the offensive line depth pieces, they might be raw now, but I think over time, Jeff Stoutland can develop those guys into really good players, and we'll see who Howard Roseman decides to keep. What side of the ball is better for the defending Super Bowl champions? I know that Nick Sirianni and players aren't calling themselves Super Bowl champions, but they are. Because last time I checked, when we were in New Orleans, going down Bourbon Street, chopping it up, celebrating with Eagles fans, myself and Chip, we were celebrating the Eagles winning that Super Bowl. So type O for offense or D for defense. Which side of the ball is better for Philadelphia going into 2025? Let me know down in the comment section right now. We're going to get to the defensive side of the pill coming up here in just a moment, but I want to tell you about our sponsor for this show, our friends at Prize Picks. Get $50 when you play $5. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the only place that you should be playing daily fantasy sports. NFL preseason wrapped up. College football beginning on Saturday. Kansas State, Iowa State. What a matchup in week 0 to get us going. And don't miss any of the action this season on Prize Picks. It's very simple to play. You can submit your picks in less than 60 seconds. And all you got to do, pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. And if you get your picks right, you could cash in and win up to 2,000 times your money. Prize Picks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. Prize Picks offers Venmo, Apple Pay, MasterCard, and more for quick and easy deposits into your account this football season. Prize Picks also invented the Flex Play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup is not perfect, and you can double your money even if one of your picks does not hit. Prize Picks, the best place to win real money this football season. Which players are going off? Which players are duds? Make those picks in less than a minute and turn your sports opinions into real money all season long. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use the code CLNS and get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. What's also great about Prize Picks, their max discount special selections. I know that we all hate Dak Prescott. How about them Cowboys? But this special is too good to turn down. Dak, more than a half passing yard in week 1? You heard that right. All he has to do is throw for 1 or more yards against the Eagles on opening night, and you can chalk that up as an easy dub. Let's also go with Jalen Hurts, more than a half rushing or receiving touchdown, and Saquon Barkley more than 92 and a half rushing yards. Get $50 when you play $5, prizepicks.com/CLNS. We continue to move forward with my final Eagles roster projection here. Defensive linemen, these are your interior defensive linemen: Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Moro Ojomo, Gabe Hall, Ty Robinson. We've seen a lot from Vanilla Gorilla throughout the preseason, and I like his future as a player. Gabe Hall, I said it right after the Eagles traded away Thomas Booker for Jacorian Bennett. He's making this club, and the Eagles like him. Very similar player. More of a slender defensive tackle, but an explosive get-off and has a knack for making plays against the run. Edge rushers. A little bit of a crunch here as well. Nolan Smith, Jalyx Hunt, your starters. Azeez Ojulari, Josh Uche as edge rusher 3 and 4. And look, I can't keep Patrick Johnson off this team. All he does is make plays. And so for me, he can help out on special teams. He can be a pretty viable backup pass rusher. He has been a preseason sensation for Philadelphia throughout his career. And I just think he's worked himself to a point where you can't cut him because he's been so good. And so, yeah, I got to part ways with Antoine Powell-Ryland, the 6th-round pick out of Virginia Tech. But here's the deal. I really haven't seen much from him all throughout the preseason, nor have other teams. And so you can bring him back to the practice squad. You can develop a young player like that who was very good in college at Vatech and at Florida. And then you let go O'Shawn Mathis and Ogbu Okoronkwo. He's going to be able to go somewhere else and be a contributor as a backup pass rusher, just not here because the Eagles are set. Inside linebackers, Zach Bond and Jahad Campbell leading it off. Prior to that preseason game against the New York Jets, it was Jahad Campbell running with the ones alongside Zach Bond. That tells me the rookie first-round pick out of Alabama, he's starting week 1 against Dallas. Jeremiah Trotter Jr. had a great camp. What a great position you're in where you can have him as a backup. And then Smile Mondon, draft choice out of Georgia, who's done some good things throughout the preseason. I think he makes his team as well. Some of you might be asking, Chase, what about Nakobe Dean? He's going to start the year on PUP. He suffered that patellar tendon injury in January, wild card round game against the Green Bay Packers. And so while he's making a lot of strides in his recovery, he's not going to be ready for week 1, and he's a logical player to start the year on PUP. Cornerback, this is a big one for this football team. Quinyon Mitchell going to be cornerback 1 on the outside. Who's going to be corner 2? We have no idea. Cooper DeJean's going to play in the slot. He's going to play a little safety. Vic Fangio giving him some snaps in practice at outside corner. We'll see what the plan is. But I also think that Jacorian Bennett, Adoree Jackson, Kelee Ringo, Mac McWilliams in the mix there. Who do I not have here? Eli Ricks. This is a case of the Eagles having some really solid corners on their roster. Now, are they solid enough to name one player as the starter opposite of Quinyon? They're not set there, but I do like the depth somewhat at this position, and Eli Ricks just doesn't make this team because the Eagles go with some of the other options here. Who on this screen are you cutting? Nobody. Do you want to go with 7 corners? Then you have to take away a player from another position. Now, what you could do, and teams have done this at times, is go with 3 safeties. So if you want Eli Ricks on this team, you put him in there as the 7th corner, and then you take away Tristan McCullum. Chase, you can't go into week 1 with 3 safeties. You can. You can go with Reed Blankenship, Andrew Makuba, Sidney Brown, and then as your 4th safety, guess who it is? It's Cooper DeJean, who can play some safety there. And so it won't surprise me at all if the Eagles only go with 3 safeties. If that happens, don't panic for the reasons that I just mentioned. It also wouldn't surprise me if Philadelphia goes with Andre Sam over McCollum, because I think Andre Sam's been a little bit better. Safety, a position to watch going into Tuesday. And then our final three specialists, Jake Elliott, your place kicker, Braden Mann, the punter, and then the new long snapper in Charlie Hewlett, who replaces Rick Lovato, who was one of four players alongside Lane Johnson, Jake Elliott, and Brandon Graham to win 2 Lombardi trophies with Philadelphia. I also don't have Avery Williams here as a specialist and punt and kick returner because he hasn't done enough, and you can use other and better players to be your returner, both on kickoffs and with punts. And so that is my Eagles roster projection. Certainly a lot of interesting spots heading into Tuesday's deadline, and I can't wait to see it play out. Grade this Philadelphia Eagles team, A, B, C, D, or F. You tell me down in the comments section. Say it with your chest and share your thoughts with me.